Hi everybody, welcome to Buckeye Preview. I'm Tyler Carey. I apologize for the bad lighting. That's what happens when all you have to work with is a cheap laptop webcam. Now you may notice I'm not wearing my Ohio State hat to start the show. I've got my Twinsburg hat on. There's been a lot to talk about in Tiger sports over this past week. I just got back from the last home game of my senior season as the Tigers whooped up on Mentor tonight. When I left the game, it was 27-0. Last week they beat Solon for the first time in 17 years, of course. I mentioned that, their arch rival. And beyond football, boys' soccer team is ranked 3rd in the state. They play tomorrow against Stowe in their first playoff game. The girls' soccer team, well, unfortunately, they lost last night to Kent Roosevelt at home. But you know what? They played their hearts out last night. They gave it 100%. There's nothing really more we can ask for. They gave us a hell of a ride this season. And to all the seniors, thank you so much. You've made us very proud to be residents of Twinsburg. Now back to football. Ohio State last week took on the Indiana Hoosiers on the road in Bloomington, and well, things look good for the offense. The Buckeyes scored 52 points. Braxton Miller had 360 yards by himself on offense. Unfortunately, the defense gave up 49 points. Ohio State winning the game by 3. How a team can give up 49 points to Indiana just shocks me. Remember those days when Ohio State's defense was always ranked among the best in the nation? Yeah, those days are gone. Urban Meyer has got to right the defensive ship if we are ever going to contend for a national championship into the future. I know we can't win it this year, but well, we are 7-0. This team is not that great. They're good, they're not great. I'll take 7-0, but let's be honest. The only reason we're perfect right now is because the Big Ten sucks. If we were playing in the SEC, we would probably be about 500. And don't laugh, Michigan fans, because as long as you've got Denard Robinson throwing 3 interceptions a game, you're in the same boat that we are. But again, Ohio State goes to 7-0. Other scores from around the Big Ten that are worth talking about, in fact, every score from around the Big Ten. Iowa and Michigan State, the Hawkeyes upset the Spartans in double overtime, 19-16. This could be an almost devastating loss for Michigan State. They fall to 1-2. Iowa remains undefeated in Big Ten play. Northwestern rebounded from their loss at Penn State to win 21-13 against Minnesota. They are now 6-1 on the year. Wisconsin in a big game in the Leaders Division, because Ohio State and Penn State are both ineligible. They won at Purdue 38-14. They are now 2-1 in the Leaders Division and are definitely in the driver's seat to get to the Big Ten title game. And in Ann Arbor, Michigan over Illinois 45-0. Michigan is now 2-0 and in control in the Legends Division. As we look at those Big Ten standings, again, Ohio State and Penn State still leading the pack in the Leaders Division. But again, neither team can play in the Big Ten title game. Wisconsin right now technically leading the Leaders Division with a 2-1 conference record. The other 3 teams, Purdue, Indiana, and Illinois, all have a combined record of 0-8 in Big Ten play. Not a pretty sight for the Leaders Division. In the Legends Division, Michigan and Iowa continue to lead the pace, both 2-0 in conference play after their wins last week. Northwestern hanging in there, they are 2-1, Nebraska 1-1. Michigan State, a team many people had winning the Big Ten this year, drops to 1-2 in conference play after losing to Iowa. Minnesota, the only winless team in conference in the Legends Division. Now, as far as the preview for this week's matchup between Purdue and Ohio State, the one key to this game is going to be defense, or lack thereof. We all know Ohio State's defense sucks. Their last 2 games, they have given up a combined total of 87 points to Nebraska and Indiana. It even feels bad coming out of my mouth. 87 points in 2 games. It is appalling to watch this Buckeye defense, or again, lack of defense. For the amount of great defensive play that they've had over the years, dating back to when Jim Tressel got there, and even before that to John Cooper, Earl Bruce, Woody Hayes, defense was always a priority. I'm sure Urban Meyer will make it a priority, but the last 2 years it's been an embarrassment on the defensive side of the ball. I am a firm believer that defense wins championships, and Ohio State has to fix that problem again if they are ever going to win in the future. But the good news for this week is Purdue's defense also is horrible. In their last 2 games, losses to Michigan and Wisconsin at home, the Boilermakers have lost by a combined score of 82-27, giving up 82 points in those 2 games. In fact, this team also gave up 41 points to Marshall in their win over Marshall. They have lost, excuse me, Purdue is now 3-3 on the year, and all 3 of their losses they have given up at least 5 touchdowns. And now they get to go up against Braxton Miller and an Ohio State team that in the last 2 weeks has scored, 115 points. And Braxton Miller is shredding every defense that tries to throw anything at him. With the way that Purdue seems to be playing on defense against everybody, their only wins have come against Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Michigan, and Marshall. And even against Marshall, they gave up 41 points. I don't expect this to be much of a challenge for Ohio State, especially at home. I think that Braxton Miller is going to do what he's been doing this whole year in really putting his name into the Heisman race, despite the fact that Ohio State cannot play in the Big Ten title game. I think that he is just going to have his way with the Purdue defense. It should be another good week for Ohio State as they continue their quest toward their perfect season. Now, as we get to the predictions on the all-around the Big Ten, we'll start with the one out-of-conference game, Indiana taking on Navy. Navy's starting to find their stride a little bit. They've won 2 in a row. Navy's defense is not great, and Indiana, as we saw, can put up some points. This is kind of a toss-up. I've always liked the way how Navy plays football with that triple option, but I'm going to take Indiana in this one. Hopefully can get the Big Ten a little measure of respectability. Minnesota and Wisconsin. Minnesota started 4-0, but in a very weak non-conference schedule. They are now 0-2 in the Big Ten with losses to Iowa and Northwestern. I think that they've been exposed a little bit. They're not nearly as good as that 4-0 start appeared to have them being. I've got Wisconsin winning this game at home as they continue to lead the pace in the Leaders Division as far as the teams who are eligible. Penn State and Iowa. Penn State, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. They are playing with a chip on their shoulder. So many people around the country were furious that Penn State was even playing football this year in light of the Jerry Sandusky scandal, which, by the way, Sandusky was sentenced to 30 years in jail last week. Thank God, if you ask me. Again, they are proving to so many people why, indeed, it is so important that these kids at Penn State continue to play football, and they've been doing it with a sense of purpose. Iowa is 2-0 in the Legends Division, but I do not like their offense. And Penn State has been playing really pretty well on offense, led by Matt McGloin, and their defense has been able to, led by Michael Mowdy, has been able to, can't find the words. Their defense has been able to shut some people down. I'm going to pick Penn State in this one. Nebraska and Northwestern. Who would have thought Northwestern, the supposed brainiac school of the Big Ten, would be setting the pace? 6-1, their lone loss coming to Penn State. They rebounded last week with that win again over Minnesota. I have waffled back and forth in this game. Nebraska still trying to get over that loss to Ohio State. They had a week off to kind of absorb that and relax a little bit. My heart wants me to pick Northwestern, but I'm going to go with my head. Nebraska's going to win this one and keep themselves alive in the Legends Division race. Michigan State and Michigan, the Civil War of the state up north. Next to the obvious choice for the biggest rivalry in the Big Ten, I'm not even going to bother mentioning it. This is one of the biggest rivalries in the Big Ten. Michigan State desperately needs a win. If they lose, they will fall to 1-3 in conference and will all but shatter their hopes of going to the Big Ten title game. And I don't think that they're going to get that when Michigan's defense their offense is really starting to hit their stride. They have won by a combined score of 89-13 in their last 2 games. I've got Michigan winning this one at home big. And finally, the game you've all been waiting for, Purdue and Ohio State. I've already given you my opinions on how the offenses and defenses will match up. There's one stat I have not thrown at you, and that is 1-15. That is Purdue's record in Ohio Stadium since 1968. 1-15 in the last 44 years of playing in that stadium. Last time they went to Columbus, they lost 49-0. Now, I think that with Ohio State's defense being as bad as it is, they're going to put up a few more points, but not enough to keep up with Braxton Miller. I've got Ohio State winning this game 56-31. I feel bad predicting Ohio State to give up 31 points, but the defense, it's killing me. Hopefully I'm right and the Buckeyes will get yet another W. Barring an upset, that should not be a problem, and they will be 8-0 on the season. Well, thank you for joining in. Until next week, I'm Tyler Carey. Thanks for watching. Go Bucks!